It appears that another right-winger has admitted that, you know what, maybe we should just get rid of education altogether. Take a look.
I mean, you just heard me read off 3 or 4 different just disgusting things that they are doing to push this nonsense onto our kids. And not every American can send their kid to a private school or homeschool.
Well, okay. If you are a parent, then you have a responsibility to your child, and how you get the education of your child done is really up to you. So I know that there are lots of people who say, but I can't this, I can't that. That's not the problem. The problem is your attitude. You have to get it done. You don't have a choice. And up until now, we've believed that we had choices. But here's the bitter truth. There is a war that is being waged in which they want your children. And there is no denying it now. The gloves are off. The blinders are off. You're talking about all the funding that's going to the anti-traditional agenda. It's right. Anti-traditional. Why? Because they want your kids. They want your kids. They want your kids. You have to wage war against that. And if it means that your kids have no schooling whatsoever, they will be better off. I can't even begin to tell you the damage that happens to children in school. And if you don't believe me, it's because you've been schooled, not educated.
Oh, so you've been schooled, not educated. Wow. All right, so there's a lot in here. But again, this is Sam Sorbo. That's Kevin Sorbo's wife. She's a podcaster. She describes herself as an education freedom advocate, which apparently, in her case, means freedom from education. Just no education at all. Freedom. You have the freedom to be an idiot, to be completely ignorant. That's what she's saying right there. I mean, and by the way, I love that message, and then contrast it to something that she had said earlier when she said, I know there are lots of people who say, but I can't this, I can't that. That's not the problem. The problem is your attitude. You have to get it done. You don't have a choice. That's in response to a question that he said, well, hey, look, there are people that can't do private school or homeschool. And she says, suck it up. Suck it up. You have to do it. You have to do it. The problem isn't you. Or the problem is you. The problem is your attitude. Oh, so my attitude is just going to make money for private school magically materialize. Wow. The power of positive thinking. Thank you, Sam Sorbo. Thank you. No, you know what that advice makes me? Disappointed! Yeah. No. Okay, again, the context here is super important. If the right wing is successful in destroying public education, which is exactly what they want to do, they are trying. What does happen to those kids? Because look, the children of the working class will not be able to get educated, but the elites will. The elites and the wealthy, they're going to get an education, but your children will not. You're a regular person, you're going to get that. But I know you might say, oh, but the vouchers. They're going to give out vouchers, so it'll be all right. Do you think Republican states, right-wing states, are going to keep giving out vouchers after this is over? Once they've eliminated public education, once it's gone, do you think they're going to keep the voucher program? No, of course not. They're going to say, oh, you know what? Turns out we can't afford it. Sorry. You're just going to have to go work in the mines or something. Work in an Amazon warehouse when you're 6 years old. It's fine. You're better off. You're better off, says Sam Sorbo. Go to work. Get your ass to work. Be productive. That's what they're doing. And yes, Sam Sorbo is saying, I think it's great that your children don't get any education, that they just stay ignorant. And because you know why? That's what this entire thing's fight over education. That's what it boils down to. An educated populace is more difficult to control than an uneducated populace. I'm just saying, there's a reason they didn't educate the slaves. where there were rules against educating slaves. Because if you educate people, then they might not want to listen to you anymore. And so when you have an educated populace, well, guess what? They tend to be a little bit more progressive. People using facts and logic and reason, well, they don't generally cling to the old ways. And those old ways are fear and authority. That's it. Education, first higher education, and now K through 12, they've been targeted because successive generations have become more socially progressive. And so they've been chipping away, chipping away. First injecting right-wing economics into college level courses and into mainstream thought, while defunding schools in order to make education fail, and then point out, oh, look, education, it has failed. This public education, it's just not working out. You know, because we've defunded it. But don't worry, we got these charter schools, and we are going to give you these vouchers, public money, that you can go to these religious charter schools that I happen to be invested in. Weird. Now, not only that, but they've also started taking over school boards. They're assaulting libraries. They're getting teachers and professors fired with the cancel culture. Yep, that's a real cancel culture. And so they're also removing books with any mentions of race or sex or LGBTQ issues, even if they're age appropriate. And now the culmination of all of this is, hey, public school, let's just get rid of it. Do you remember this video? I showed it to you last week. Or was it before that? This is Fox News' Kennedy saying the same thing.
This will be a very important case for religious liberty, but also maybe a great time in our country's history where we rethink whether or not we have public schools. Maybe we should not have the government involved in education at all, so parents and teachers and administrators can make those decisions themselves instead of having the government impose it on them, because it is the public school aspect of this that is creating the legal challenge.
Maybe we should just think about not having public education at all. That's what they're going to do right there. Education in this country, I pointed out, has issues, of course. But the difference between the two sides in this issue is there are people out there that want to fix it, that want to make education better, that want to make it more inclusive, that want to make make it so that children have better critical thinking skills and can adapt to a new economy, 21st century, become the next entrepreneurs. And then there are people who don't want to fix it. There are people that want to destroy it. They want to burn it down, target our institutions, and replace them, well, not with a public institution that will take over, do a better job, but with institutions that will make it worse. Like the church, for example. Yeah, church is great for religion, not so good for education. And they want it for a specific purpose, to make people easier to lie to. And that they'll believe your lies, so they can maintain control. So understand then when Sorbo says, and she talks about this, they're after your kids. They're after your kids. They're after your kids. Well, again, that's like fear, for one, okay? So they're really pushing that fear narrative because I think that's a nod, maybe a subtle nod to QAnon. They're after your children, after your children, after your children. But it's also projection. I talked about before, PragerU, Ben Shapiro, the Daily Wire, doing all these programs now for children to indoctrinate them into conservatism. Understand that it's all about projection. It always has been.